hope your weekend plans are bigger than DJ Moore's fantasy score. Chicago Bears star receiver looking every bit like a guy that was worth trading the number 1 overall pick for, as the Chicago Bears down the Washington Commanders 40-20 on Thursday night. What an improvement from a week ago. What a way to end a nightmare couple of weeks for the Chicago Bears organization. They snap a 14-game losing streak dating back to basically a year ago. The laughingstock of the league through the first month of the season. Laughingstocks no more. What a win by the Bears, who were 6-point underdogs coming into this game. Again, I don't know how many times we need to rehash everything that's gone wrong for the Chicago Bears, but to even take it as recent as 4 days ago, they let a 28-7 lead slip to the Denver Broncos at home. They've got to go on the road on a short week. They've got disgruntled players. They've got their coach not knowing how to talk to the media. And damn if they don't hang 40 points and 450 yards on the Washington Commanders, who, again, were expected, or most people, including me, thought that they would be able to put together a statement win and take care of a team that looked worse on paper. Not the case here. Did look for a minute like the Bears were going to succumb to their old ways. It got dicey in the second half of this game. Washington rallies from a 27-3 halftime deficit. They outscore the Bears 17-3 early in the second half, but DJ Moore heroics put this thing away, a 20-point win. Hard to know where to start. I've mentioned DJ Moore. It would be a shame not to bring up the guy that is throwing him the ball. DJ Moore, if I didn't already say his stat line, you see it on the screen if you're watching. 8 catches, 230 yards, 3 touchdowns. He won some fantasy leagues on Thursday night. If it's Friday morning and you're playing against DJ Moore, don't worry about your lineup on Sunday. I'm sorry to say it. As cool as that is, and DJ Moore, my producers gave me this right before we started the show. DJ Moore, 531 yards through 5 games. He's only 13 yards behind the leader for all of last year for the Chicago Bears, Cole Kmet. DJ Moore is going to pass his total from last year probably next week. Incredible stuff. I'm sure the Bears feel fantastic about that decision to include DJ Moore in the trade with Carolina. But as exciting as all of that is, Justin Fields, man, how thrilling must it be to see this guy who has been under so much scrutiny, under so much pressure, so many people dogging him, doubting him, talking bad about him. 15 of 29, 282 yards, 4 touchdowns on the night. Most important, no turnovers. Remember, his sack fumble is really the catalyst for Denver's comeback last week. Did not happen this time around. Sure, there were some close calls, but hey, nobody remembers that if you win the game. It's the second straight eyebrow-raising performance in less than a week. Remember, this all happened Sunday. So in 5 days, we've gone from, do the Bears go after Caleb Williams? And maybe they still should. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. But 2 games in less than a week where DJ Moore is at the very least looking like a guy who could be a franchise quarterback, who could be somebody that builds your offense around. And the most exciting part for me is he did it against a step up in competition. Don't laugh. I'm not saying the Commanders are good. Again, they were favored in this game. They wind up getting blown out. They're 2-3 on the season. Not an NFL elite, but a better defense than the Denver Broncos. And how do I know that? Because everyone in the NFL is a better defense than the Denver Broncos. Denver last week, last in DVOA, last in defensive EPA. They gave up 70 points to Miami. They're allowing 38 points per game. Washington, not a fire-breathing defense at all, but they are a so-so 18th in all of those metrics I just listed. They're 22nd in total defense. They are a better defense than the Denver Broncos, and Justin Fields lit them up, particularly in the first half. There's a more nuanced conversation to be had about the Bears being a little more consistent. It was looking, like I just said, I mean, they had been outscored 41-10 in the second half of these 2 games before DJ Moore's heroics at the end that really put this thing away. But still, 2 phenomenal passing performances from Justin Fields. You've got to have so much more confidence in where this offense is going after this last week. I mentioned this the other day. The Bears also have manageable opponents coming up. You look at the schedule, all of a sudden, Vikings and Raiders coming up, and certainly not chalking those up as wins. But if Justin Fields is playing like this, you have to like your odds that the Bears can start to stack some wins together, maybe climb out of that 0-4 hole. They're already on their way. And they did all of this without a semblance of a running game in the second half, by the way. Khalil Herbert, Travis Homer, Roschon Johnson all leave this game due to injury. There was a moment in the fourth quarter where I'm saying to myself, why the hell aren't the Bears running the ball? They're up in the second half. They got to get out of here. They're on the road. And then I remembered, oh yeah, they don't have a running back. Fields as a ball carrier and their fullback are what got them through to the end of this thing. So even being completely unbalanced, they managed to hang on. They managed to still score some points. I think it's incredibly impressive. We're not taking the Bears too far. Like let's not get carried away, because I think that's how the Bears wound up in this mess in the first place, is unrealistic expectations. Like, I think there were a lot of people around this organization, fans in Chicago, that saw this team as a potential playoff contender. I always thought that was biting off more than this team could chew. But they should have been better, and they finally look better. This looks like a team that could steal some surprise wins, certainly not lose 14 in a row. And maybe you feel good about your progress. You feel good about building around Justin Fields. That was the goal. And right now, at least that feels like it's attainable. And that should be exciting for Bears fans that are celebrating their first win in basically a year. I think that's fun. We can leave it there for now. It's also an incredibly cool tribute to Dick Butkus, the Bears legend. Word comes down that he passed away Thursday at his home in Malibu, just hours before kickoff, really. And to be honest, it seemed especially sad that this news would come out as the Bears were playing a Bears team that's been through such a rough season. But they rise to the occasion. They play their best game of the year. They get their first win the day that we receive this sad news. Dick Butkus, a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, an 8-time All-Pro, a Pro Football Hall of Famer, a career-long Bear, a guy that was still involved with the franchise up until this very season, and an icon. Obviously, I'm too young to have ever seen him play live, but anybody who loves football, I think, does know the name Dick Butkus, or at the very least should. A true icon of what this franchise was all about, the Monsters of the Midway. It's very, very cool that the Bears were able to get this win as some sort of tribute to him and his family. Real quick on the Commanders, a couple of things. Number one, I think it is an incredibly disappointing loss if you're Washington. Remember what we said before the season. Everybody in this franchise should consider themselves on a job interview. That goes for Ron Rivera. That goes for offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy. That goes for the front office. There's new ownership in Washington. They were 6-point favorites at home, coming off of a really strong performance against Philadelphia. And with the exception of about 10 minutes in the second half, they just didn't look ready for this game. You go down 27-3 at home to a winless team. That's a really, really bad look. It's not a great spot for Ron Rivera to be if new ownership is evaluating his job. But we should talk about Sam Howell, another guy whose job is being evaluated. This dude's fun, man. We'll see how he continues to progress. And his first season as the starter, you're seeing all of the ups and downs that you might have expected. Gets drilled by Buffalo, goes up and plays amazing against Philadelphia. Very forgettable first half here against Chicago. And then in the second half, just absolutely balls out. 51 attempts on the night, 388 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. But it's not even so much the stat line. This dude is a walking thrill ride. I don't know what's going to happen on any given snap. It's like playing roulette. It's like putting $100 down and just watching the wheel spin. Just constant anxiety with a few bursts of joy and excitement, maybe some agony. throwing interceptions, scrambling around, diving for 2-point conversions, carrying tacklers with him. I think Sam Howell ran 150 yards in this game to gain 19. That's how often he was on the run. That's how often he was wheeling around in the pocket trying to get away from guys. Made a couple of gorgeous throws. Sam Howell's must-see TV. Like, Anthony Richardson is the most fun first-year starter, but I don't know if Sam Howell is very far behind. We'll see if it leads to more wins in the future, but I like watching Sam Howell play football. That's a bright spot for the Commanders, but a good night for the Chicago Bears.